So in case you're curious about possibilities of fluid simulation in Blender, I want to go through the most basic setup just to get you started. So here is a rudimentary smoke simulation. This is a fluid simulation. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to start all over. So to get started, I need two things. I need a domain and I need a thing called a flow. So the domain is the item that the simulation is going to happen within. So to save memory, it doesn't run in the infinite universe. It's going to happen, in our case, inside this box. So first I'm going to go ahead and scale this up a little bit more. So that'll be the box that holds the simulation. Then I'm going to add in a mesh sphere. It doesn't matter what you add in. This is what the smoke, in our case, is going to flow out of. So I'm going to bring this up a little bit and I'm going to scale it down. Now, to make these into the objects that we need them to be, this is going to happen over here in the physics tab. So I click on that, click on the box, check fluid, and then make this a domain. A lot of information here. Now click on the other object. This is also going to be fluid, and this is going to be the flow. So right away you see that we have some smoke, and I'll tell you this. This is controlled by the timeline. So if I hit the space bar here, it's going to run the simulation. So there you go. I have got some smoke in my scene, but it's not quite working right, at least not for most situations. I need to change this object to an inflow. So right now there's some smoke, let's say, around it, and it gets released. It goes up because of the heat and the buoyancy of the smoke, and it goes up to the top of the domain. I want to change the flow from just geometry to inflow. Now I have to restart the timeline for this to happen. If you don't, it works off of what was there previously, or it just disappears, and that can be kind of confusing. So I start from the beginning, and now it goes up, but as you can see, it's a continuous flow into the domain. Now, there's another object I'm not going to make right now called an outflow. If you imagine that I added a lot more frames here, this smoke would start to fill up the domain, and that is exactly what would happen. Like I said, we're not going to deal with that right now. And then next you want to go over to the domain and make sure that it's on gas. Mine was by default, yours might not. That was why my smoke sim was working right from the beginning. If I change it over here to liquid, it's not working the way that it should in this case. Change it to gas. Notice nothing's happening, timeline's moving, restart the timeline, there's our smoke again. Okay, so that's the very basic on how you create a smoke sim in Blender. There are many items that you can change here, and there's a few gotchas along the way. There's a few of these things that you change, and it might seemingly mess it up. Also, this simulation that we're running on the timeline was calculated step by step as it went through the timeline the first time. I happen to have my resolution so low that you didn't necessarily see the speed change. So let's change this to 80 and I'll restart the timeline. And you can tell it's going a lot slower than it was before. So as it goes through here, it is calculating where every particle should be as it moves through the timeline. When it gets done, it will be cached in memory. This is an important concept. I can then run it again and it will be smooth. However, if I restart Blender and open it back up again, that cached information will be gone and I'd have to go through the timeline again like this. Now, you might think that this is going pretty fast as I'm talking here. It's almost, well, it's halfway done. However, the resolution of 80 is probably not enough. We might want something more like 500 if you want something that looks a bit more realistic. Now watch, as it gets to the end and starts over, everything is moving a lot faster now. So again, here is my point. This is fine, it's working well, I can look at things, I can examine it, see if it's going to be good. If I want to save this, you need to bake it. You might have heard this word before. It's down here, you don't see it. It's on replay right now. This is one of the other gotchas. Where is my bake button? Everybody online says hit the bake button. You won't see it if it's on this replay. They probably should rename this. This is getting cached into memory. When I change this over to all, I now have a bake button. When I hit the bake all, it's going to go through that same process. You're not going to see it happen, but when it gets finished, you will have the information for this simulation stored in a folder somewhere. Hopefully it's in the folder where you created the blend file. And then when you open it up again, it will still be there. So I'm going to leave it right there. That is the basics on creating yourself a fluid sim in Blender.